All right, here we go. Another episode, Forge Father FM, and we're going to be talking about some mindset stuff on this episode. Things that we have talked about in past episodes for sure, but we're going to be redialing in. I figured it was a good time to do that because here we are at the end of quarter one, 2021, and chances are, and I'm sure you can agree with me here, Adam. Most people that started the year off with a goal or uh, a resolution, if you want to call it that.
hmm
Do you think they've made any headway on that? Do you think they're still on the path, or chances are most people are off the path by this time?
Yeah, I think most people have crashed and burned by now. A
Yep.
long time ago, probably for most.
hmm
Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just one of those things. We talk about it so much, motivation, 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 motivation's bullshit, and your shirt is very, very fitting for today's episode because, you know, another thing that we talk about, discipline, discipline over motivation, right? Or in this case, Jocko's little slang, discipline equals freedom.
hmm
So, kind of digging into that because I think it's such an interesting concept. Discipline equals freedom, right? So it's like more structure, I guess, more. It's just being a little bit more strict with your lifestyle. People think right away it's like, well, that's taken away from my freedom, but it's actually giving you a lot of extra freedom. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have the discipline to eat a little bit less now. You have the freedom once in a while to really enjoy yourself without feeling completely guilty, like a lot of people would. Or
hmm
you can do that with time management. You could use that with money, with really any part of your life. If you are
hmm
disciplined with your life and save something for the future, when you get there you are able to enjoy yourself a little bit more.
hmm Absolutely. And then we can bring up the fact of like giving into instant gratification.
Yeah.
You give into the moment. You're like, I really want that candy bar. Well, do you want it now, or would you rather have it later when you've kind of earned it, right? And so there's that whole piece to it too. Is it's like instant gratification or delayed gratification. And I'll tell you what, delayed gratification always feels 100 times better because you actually earn it, right? Versus kind of giving
Yeah.
into the moment and not being disciplined. It comes back to bite you in the ass, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting way to look at things.
Yeah, I think another one I saw pop up again just the other day somewhere was, do you want to deal with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret?
Yeah. Yep.
Pick your poison, pick your pain.
Yep. It's definitely a great way to think of things. Really, and I mean, we can rattle off quotes and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that all day. But again, a lot of people they don't dig into the quote and really get perspective of it. And or I guess taking it a little bit further, they don't know how to apply it in real life, right? Like how do you apply discipline? How do you create discipline? How do you be disciplined? And it's interesting because discipline is just it's what you are, you know, the actions that you take, the actions that you don't take. It's not like all of a sudden you're disciplined. It's just you act in the moment in a disciplined way. You know what I mean? So
hmm
it's interesting when you start to think of it that way, but then coming back to the application in life, that's what I want to talk about tonight. So to start things off, I'm going to put you on the spot, man. Like, what is it that freaking gets you up in the morning, man? Like, what drives you? Like, what makes you live the certain lifestyle that you do? Doing what we do inside the Forge Father. Like, what keeps you going? Like, you just ran a half marathon this past weekend, crushed it.
hmm
Probably could have ran a full marathon from the sounds of it. But it's like, what keeps you going, man? Like, what fuels your fire?
I've got a little 5-year-old boy when I wake up in the morning who's about 15 feet down the hall from me, and he's looking up to me. He's watching every single thing I do, whether I am aware of it or not. And I know I'm his number one role model. And if I let him down, I think the fear of letting him down kind of it gets at me. Like I want to be I want to live up to all his expectations. I want to be the hero that he needs.
Yep. And that's beautiful because you know that creates a whole different type of accountability for
Yeah.
you. I know for me, my oldest daughter, she's about to turn 7 Friday, this Friday.
Dang. Dang.
And it's like it really puts things into perspective a whole new another level. It's like, wow, time is just flying by, you know? So I know she, like you got a 5-year-old boy. She was the thing that really flipped things for me and created a whole new purpose, a whole new reason for, living this way. And it's something that you mentioned, the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret. And we can go way back before we had kids, before we were married, and that meant something completely different at that point,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to regret? What are you going to regret as a single male? No family, no kids. And not to say that there isn't any regret there, but it's just like it's a whole lot different when you become a dad, because you look at it from that side of things, like as a role model. Like, I'm not only letting myself down, but man, I'm letting the people down around me. Especially my kids. That's hard to
Yeah.
take. That's hard to swallow.
Hmm.
So, great way to think of it. And I asked you that question because that's really where we begin in this whole concept of like, how do we start to apply discipline to our life on a day-to-day basis? What is it? We just wake up and read a quote and then you're motivated in the moment and that's going to push you through the day. We already know that doesn't work, right? It might work for a couple of days, but it's very short-lived, right? So how do we continue to apply this thing, discipline? How do we, be disciplined in the moment? And it starts with that purpose, right? Like I asked you, what's your big driving factor, right? So if we were to, look at what it is that we want results wise, like for you, Adam, like what are your big results right now? Like what are the big outcomes that you're shooting for? Anything in particular?
My number one outcome coming up is this Spartan Ultra, May 1st. So I wanna not only complete that thing, but I want to crush it. I want to know that I did as well as possible.
Yep.
So that's my big one right now.
Yep. Same thing here. So checked off one box already. So I made it into the top 50 of the Open with
Yeah.
the Masters, which I was really. I mean, after the first couple of weeks, I was like, oh shit, like I'm like 200th or something like that. But things can change real quick. The last workout, it was a good one, so bumped me up into the top 50. So that was an outcome that I wanted to achieve. But then the more important one is right along with you. We got that ultra coming up. Number one, it scares the hell out of me. Like it makes me nervous just thinking about it. Putting in all the prep work now. Like today, I got in uh, day one of the week for Spartan. Legs were
Yep.
super sore. Thought about it a couple times. I'm like, maybe I'll skip this today and I'll do it tomorrow, or maybe not even do it because I just got done with the Open. And it's funny, you start coming up with those stories inside of your head, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just let's justify these excuses. Let ourselves out the hook. But I'm thinking ahead. It's like, all right, I got this race, and I've already told, my wife obviously knows about it, but I'm going to tell my daughters about it and say, hey, Daddy's running this big long race, and he's going to finish it. He's not going to quit. He's not going to give up. Like, I'm going to bring this big ass medal home and show you girls. And so you tie it into that. That's like, okay, I want to finish the race for myself, right? I want to prove to myself that I can do it. We already know it's going to be painful as hell. We
Yeah.
get that first lap done. Well, we're not even halfway done at that point. Like we still got a whole nother loop to run. That's when the pain's going to start to set in. That's when those stories are going to start popping up inside your head. And it's like, okay, we have this outcome that we want to achieve. Just like all these people on January 1st, they set these outcomes. They're like, I'm ready to make a change, transformation. I'm super pumped up about it right now. But then what happens in between the time you set that outcome and then when you actually achieve it, that's where that discipline comes in, right? So,
Yeah.
Gotta get some paper. There you go. That's the only paper that we have. Nope, that's not. Can you close that door, please? Thank you. So, yeah, lost my train of thought there. But no, we got point A, point B. We're trying to get to point B. Those are our outcomes, right? So,
Yeah.
this thing, discipline, comes into the middle. That's going to help push us forward. But where I say everybody needs to begin is they need to begin with asking themselves, why is this outcome so important to you? Right? And it's going to be different for everybody. And so you start to dig a little bit deeper below the surface. It's like, yeah, that'd be cool to obtain that, or it'd be cool to achieve this certain outcome, whatever it may be. A lot of guys' cases is like, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to get in better shape, or whatever it may be, right? So we got this outcome. Where we need to start is with the purpose. And so you dig below the surface, is ask yourself the question, like, why do I want this? Why is it even important? What's this going to do for me? How's this going to change my life? And I guess asking you that question, Adam, so like tying it in with the ultra, like, how is that going to change your life? Like completing that race.
It's a challenge that scares the hell out of me, and I want to see what I can do as far as pushing myself to the limit. What does it take to break me? Is this the thing that's going to be too much for me, or am I going to be able to crush this and have to figure out something something harder? I think
Yeah.
The feeling of completing a challenge that's really, really hard and scary is when you get through that and win, over yourself. It's a great feeling.
Absolutely. I love it. And yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm doing it as well. I can remember back to the first one. What really got me to do that one, we had a couple guys in the brotherhood that said, hey, we're going to run the ultra. And I was already committed to doing like the beast, but then I was like, well, these two guys are doing the ultra. I'm going to do the ultra, just because in the back of my mind, I was like, man, should I sign up for the ultra? I don't know if I'd be able to finish that. So yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it feels like living, you know what I mean? Cause you're like, you feel all these emotions, you feel fear, you feel doubt. But then what I feel is so special about it is you get the opportunity to overcome those things. So yeah, we're going to go into the race with a little bit of fear, self-doubt, anxiety, overwhelm, all that type of stuff, right? But guess what? We're in total control of our actions and our attitudes towards that. So it's like we have an opportunity to overcome. And I think at the end of the day, it's, we're proving it to ourselves, but then this is where that big purpose comes in, and we can connect it to other things externally, connect it to, well, what am I going to tell my family if I come back and I'm like, dad quit halfway through, right?
Yep.
That's going to suck. Like that's regret
Yeah.
right there. That's like painful regret, embarrassment. You obviously don't want to do that. So it's not going to happen. Right. So it's important that we start there and you really think about like, why am I doing this? What's it going to matter? And for guys out there that, aren't doing an ultra or a competition of some sort, let's just tie it to a simple goal of like, okay, you got this 30 to 40 pounds that you've been trying to lose for however long now, ever since you've had kids, the weight has just been slowly and steadily been coming on. You've been looking in the mirror. The guy is changing every single time you look at this guy. He's a little bit bigger. And here you are with this goal of, okay, I need to lose 40 pounds. A lot of guys don't go beyond that. It's just, I need to lose 40 pounds. Why? I need to get in better shape. There is no purpose behind that. Like, I challenge everybody, and with the guys that I have conversations with that come into the brotherhood, I really challenge them. Like, we start to dig below the surface and we have hard conversations. And I think that's part of the reason guys don't get to the purpose is it's a hard conversation with yourself, right? You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what is it that I need to start owning up to, like, who do I need to actually become to make these outcomes possible. But even before that happens, that's where a guy got to get he's got to get clear with his purpose. And 9 times out of 10, with the dads that I talk to, the reason that they need to lose the weight is obviously so they get in better shape, so they have better, more energy to be
Yep.
more present with family. But now we're starting to get to the soft stuff, right? So it's like, be more present with family. Well, what's going on right now? Are you not spending as much time as you should be with your family? Oh, that's lacking right now because you're showing up so unhealthy and out of shape. Like, this 40 pounds is starting to transform into something a whole lot more valuable, right? And so
Mhm.
you start digging, 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 then it's just it gets down to an identity level. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for
When
sure.
you really start to think about it, it's like, okay, what's the purpose behind this? Is to prove to myself that I am not this individual I am right now. For a lot of the dads that I speak to, it's like they've become a certain type of individual that has just lost his edge. He's soft as hell, full of excuses, just, you know, and he's kind of settled and accepted that. So it's like, okay, that's the big purpose, is to prove to myself that I'm not that individual. And I think if guys were to have this conversation with themselves at the start of the year, right, when they're setting New Year's resolutions, it's like, instead of setting an outcome, why don't you set, or create a new identity, if you will, for yourself? It's like, this is who I'm going to be this year,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that opens up a whole different, you know, train of thought with this. So it's like, okay, you get very, very clear with that purpose. Then you connect that purpose with who it is that you need to be, why you need to be this individual. And when you hit it on the mark, that's where you start to create this burning desire, right? And one could ask you, Adam, it's like, dude, you just ran a half marathon last week. Wasn't that challenging enough? Like, where's the desire coming from to continue to push yourself? What do you got to say about that?
Where's the desire?
Hmm.
Well, got to do it for my boy. Gotta prove to him that a few good challenge. Oh, jeez. Hey, speaking of him, hey, buddy, Mr. Interrupter. Hi. Sure. You want to say hi?
Hey, dude, what's
I'm gonna
going
prove
on,
to this
man?
guy that I'm gonna continue to do hard things, and that I'm gonna succeed, and I'm gonna try my best. So you grow up to be someone that does hard things and tries really hard and does your best, right?
Yep. Yeah, buddy.
No. Hey, I gotta let you go, buddy. Maybe later. How's that for timing?
I love it, man. That's
Yeah,
that's real, real raw. That's how it is, man.
yeah,
And yeah, you're spot on. And so it's like, okay, we come back to the purpose, and we're really getting real raw here, right? It's like, okay, what type of individual are you? And it's interesting, when you get to a certain level, you do some hard things. It's like, okay, you make a transformation, you lose that weight. Let's say, boom, you lose that 30 to 40 pounds. Now you're back in shape. That the outcomes continue to kind of ascend. It's like you're on the search for, okay, what else can I do to continue to challenge my body and test
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
And I feel like that's where all these challenges, and why I feel so strongly about, like, signing up for events and just being a part of groups that are going to push you outside of your comfort zone. Because I feel like when you just get to a place where you're like, okay, I lost this 30 to 40 pounds, it's like, it's kind of boring at that point. If you don't shoot, if you don't find something to continue to challenge you, it's like, okay, you got to the top of this one mountain. Now what? There's
yeah.
still
What
a
else
lot
is
of
out
life.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
still a lot of life to live. So I think connecting that back to your purpose, and this isn't for everybody. Obviously, some guys are going to get to that point where they have lost like the 30 or 40 pounds, and then they look good and they feel good. And that's that, but for me personally, you know, I feel like it's only just beginning at that point, because now your health and fitness isn't such a worry. Like, you have that energy back, you have that fitness back. It's a part of your lifestyle. It's a part of who you are at that point. Your identity has shifted to this fit and lean and athletic individual. And what I love about being involved in like coaching and with the guys that come into the program and do make that transformation, then that switch goes off. And I know you've seen it too, Adam, is like guys are like, okay, wow, I didn't realize this is only just the beginning of the journey. Like, what else can I do? What else can I
Yeah.
experience? And I feel like that's really living, It's just it's not just settling and being complacent. It's like, okay, what else can I do? And just keep on moving down the path. So I think it's interesting how, when you find that purpose initially, the big thing that I'm trying to get at here, and hopefully guys that tune into this episode uh, aren't too lost, but I mean, when you get into this mindset stuff, it goes deep, but it starts with that purpose. So what is it that you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? Now, if you want to achieve it, you got to ask yourself this next question. It's like, who do you need to become to achieve it? And when discipline starts to come into play, you just need to be a disciplined individual,
Hmm.
an individual that practices discipline daily, that is able to give up instant gratification, because that's essentially what builds you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. If I want to be that person that can take on this really hard challenge, whatever, a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, why, if I'm the person today that's going to fold over something as little as, hitting the snooze button on the alarm clock, tomorrow morning on day one of training, how am I going to get all the way up to that point where I can do all these hard things? You need to build, it's like little steps on the way
yep,
up.
yep. And it's like the saying goes, like how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So,
Mm.
and guys can argue that, well, when I need to turn it on, I can turn it on. It's like, okay, prove it, right? Number one, like actually follow through and do that. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you go to little tiny itty bitty things such as, okay, you say you're going to wake up at, X time, your alarm goes off, you have that mini conversation inside of your head, I'll sleep for 5 more minutes, right? You just broke that rule, right? So
Yeah.
you gave up in that moment, instant gratification. You went with what was easy. You didn't go with what was hard, challenging in the moment. It's the universe picks up on that. It's interesting how this all works. And this is going even deeper. It's like the universe picks up on that, you know. But you can almost train yourself to push through that stuff. It's just it's you start to rewire how you think. So I know for me, like, boom, alarm goes off. It's like, sure, that thought comes across the mind, but when you've committed to being a certain type of individual and you've maintained the discipline for so long, it becomes automatic. There's this other voice that pops up and it's like, don't you even fucking think about it.
Hmm.
Like, you're getting up,
Yep.
right? And then it's like automatic. You just get up. We go through our rise and conquer routine. Dude, the cold showers, I'm well over for like 4 years streak. Haven't missed a cold shower for 4 years.
Yeah.
This
That's
whole
insane.
week, man. This whole week has been like difficult. So, but it's
Yeah.
just one of those things. It's another challenge. It's like, I know for me, um, there's been days where I want to skip that ice cold shower, but then you have that conversation inside of your head, like, you're not that type of individual that skips out on that stuff. Like, you're the type of individual that is going to get it done. And so it all starts with that purpose, connecting that
Yeah.
purpose to who you are. And I think when it really gets solidified, that's where that desire comes from. It's like that desire, that burning desire. You got this freaking, fire burning inside of you. Motivation at that point is non-existent. Like, yeah, sure, it'll come and you'll be fired up at times. Like, that motivation, will be nice to have, but then when that motivation is gone, it doesn't matter because you have that conversation in your head, that quick conversation in your head, like, nope, you're not that type of individual that does that. You do this. These are the actions that you take, right? So I think
Hmm.
it's really, it sounds complex, but it's just really, get clear with what you want. It's like so deep within your soul that the pain of not accomplishing that and not being who you should be outweighs, the pain of just giving up, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Love it.
interesting stuff, man. Yeah.
Love
So
it.
guys really need to, for anybody out there that's struggling with motivation still, I get it. But at some point, you're just going to have to rewire how you think about motivation. Like, just take motivation for a second and just set it off to the side and just like, it's kind of a bonus thing. It's not the thing that's going to get you from point A to point B. Essentially, what we've been talking about tonight is if you want to get from point A to point B, number one, it starts with the purpose. In between purpose and the outcome that you want to achieve is all action. It's just simply taking action, whether you're motivated or you're not motivated. That in itself is discipline. I've heard that before, is like discipline is the act of doing something whether you feel like doing it or not. You know,
Sums it up
vo-
nicely. Yep.
void of feeling, void of feeling. Like feelings are whatever, right? You can still act no matter how you're feeling. It's just it's what you choose to do, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully this reaches out, grabs somebody by the collar, just lifts them up, shakes them a little bit, says, dude, quit fucking waiting around for motivation. Really dig deep below the surface on what it is that you want. If you really want this thing, and easiest way to put it is like this, Adam. It's like if you want something so bad that you can just like feel it in your freaking bones. It's like I am going to achieve that. Doesn't matter what it takes. That's desire right there, And
Yeah.
when you have a true desire to obtain something, like you're gonna do what you need to do, and what we can even start to dig below the surface even deeper and talk about like subconscious and how in your subconscious, if there's something that you want so bad without even knowing it, like you will find things in the world that get you closer to achieving your goal. You're gonna pick up on things. You'll attract yourself to a certain type of individuals. It's like this guy seems to be on the same path as me. I'm attracted to this guy. Like we need to conversate. This guy, I don't want to do. I have anything to do with this guy over here. Like his way of thinking isn't on my level. You know what I mean? So I
Yep.
mean that's a whole nother conversation. But it's just this desire. Figure out what is going to create massive amount of desire, and I mean you literally become unstoppable. Like, is there something that you can think back on, Adam, where you were like, you wanted it so freaking bad, it's like you had this freaking desire just to obtain it, like you did anything? Can you think of anything?
Jeez, being a dad. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted I knew I wanted kids.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, I was 35, I think, when Henry was born. So
Hmm.
I waited a while for that, but
Yeah.
the wait was worth it.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's like um, an example that I'll use is, and this goes way back before I was even a dad, but it just goes to show you, like, you put this out in the universe. It's like just the way you think. It's like you get laser focused. You're like, I'm gonna fucking do this. I was so determined to get a Jeep. Like I wanted this Jeep. This was years ago. Had my gym, and I was just like, all right, what's it gonna take to get this Jeep? It's like, all right, this is the outcome that I need. This is how much I need to make to get this Jeep. What do I need to do to get it? And then at that point, the work became just the work. It was just like the actions show up, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Boom. Holy shit, like this really works. I did it. And it's interesting, along the journey, there are times where like you say to yourself, like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna accomplish this, but you just keep showing up, you keep putting in the work, you keep doing the things that you need to do, you become the individual that you need to become, to achieve the result. It's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
So,
Might be
yeah,
the
I mean,
might be the true form runner now, or the assault runner.
there
Get
you
one of
go.
those in my house right now. Been thinking about that for a long time.
I think they have a sale going on because they came up with like a new elite version of the assault runner. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Oh, I see them all the time, man.
Yeah, they came out, and isn't that interesting too? See, this is the subconscious working.
Yeah.
So when I made the decision, this was years ago when I bought my first Jeep. It was like the newer styles, like when they came out with the newer styles, like the Wranglers. I saw it everywhere. Everywhere I
Yeah.
went driving, I'd be like, "Oh man, another person has a Jeep. Oh man, It's not like all these Jeeps just magically appeared. Your mind is like your brain is subconsciously seeking that out. It's like
Yes.
seeking it out. So it's like, boom, there's one, boom, there's one. And it's interesting. Another way that and they call this what the reticular activating system inside of your head, right? It's part of your brain, and it's your brain's way of like focusing in on what it is that you want, right? So if you're like, I really want a red Corvette, guarantee you within the next week, you'll probably see more red Corvettes than you've ever seen in your life.
Hmm.
Just because it's like, boom, it's
Yeah.
subconsciously, like you don't even have to be thinking about it, but then it's like you pick it out. It's
Yeah.
crazy, crazy. And the same can be said about negative stuff, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I've had this conversation with so many different people, and I know we've talked about this about individuals where like it seems like things just negativity is just attracted to this individual. And without them even knowing it, like they're actually attracting it to themselves because subconsciously they're thinking about it, and I can relate this to me back in high school wrestling. Like I've told this story many of times. I would lose matches before I even stepped on the mat because I'd already visualized losing in my head. I was so worried about making a mistake or losing that I would make it come true in the real world. Like I would just find opportunities to lose and prove myself right, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful when you start to get deep into how your mind thinks, how you wire yourself, because attitude, actions, they're all connected. So, man, we can have a whole episode on this alone, man. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Seriously.
But yeah, plainly put, what is it that you want? Why do you want it? Take the actions necessary to get there. Period. And you're going to help yourself out when the deeper you want to go, the more relentless you'll become. I guess the more desire that you'll build for it, right? Like when that purpose becomes so powerful that I mean, we say, I know I would die for my kids. I would die for my daughters, like doing anything, everything to, do whatever I need to do for them, which I'm
Yeah.
sure you'd do the same.
Absolutely.
So it's like that's desire, that's undeniable desire, right? So it's crazy, man. But
Yeah.
this was a great episode. Adam, you got anything else to add in?
No, man. Great stuff.
Mm,
Great topic.
absolutely, man. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And yeah, anybody that is tuning in, listening to the podcast, watching either on Facebook, YouTube, wherever, don't hesitate to reach out if this stuff is resonating with you. And you're like, gosh, I'm in that position where I'm dependent on motivation. I don't know how to overcome this motivation stuff. I want to dig a little bit more into rewiring how I think, how I act, so I can finally achieve whatever these outcomes are. Feel free to reach out. I'm obviously on Facebook, Instagram. Email is real simple, theforgedathlete@gmail.com. Send me an email. We'll see what's going on. We'll see what we can do to get you moving forward. So, but other than that, Adam, have a great night.
You
I'll see you
too.
on the inside, man.
We'll see you.